Welcome to the Wellness Protocol, your source for guidance on metabolic health, hormones, and longevity. I'm Dr. Alessia Roehnelt, double board certified endocrinologist, and on each episode, I'll share simple tools rooted in science and experience to help you feel better, live longer, and take control of your health. Welcome back to the Wellness Protocol. I'm your host, Dr. Alessia Roehnelt, and today's episode is all about how to future-proof your metabolism after age 40. If you've hit 40 or beyond, you've probably noticed that some things aren't quite the same as they used to be. Maybe you're gaining weight more easily. Maybe it's more difficult to lose weight. You might be feeling more tired than normal, noticing energy dips throughout the day. Well, the good news is you're not alone. And today we're going to dive deep into actionable ways that you can revitalize your metabolism and feel like yourself again. Before we jump in, just remember to hit subscribe or follow wherever you're listening. If you find today's episode helpful, please share it with a friend, leave me a review, or drop a comment. I love hearing your feedback. Let's talk about metabolism. What exactly is happening after age 40? Well, as we age, the metabolism naturally slows down. We see a really big decrease in this, though, starting around age 40 into age 50. That is when it seems to hit people the hardest, especially women. This has to do with hormonal changes, especially the drop in estrogen as people go through perimenopause and menopause. It has to do with muscle loss because muscle is so incredibly important for metabolism. It might involve some changes in thyroid function or even mitochondrial health. All of these things can play a role in the changes in our metabolism. So after age 40, we lose muscle mass at about 3 to 8% per decade. And this muscle loss significantly impacts your metabolism because remember that muscle burns calories even at rest. That means that when you're sleeping, muscle is burning calories for you. So if your body is continuing to lose muscle and you are not proactively building up muscle, your metabolism will go even slower than it needs to. Additionally, hormonal shifts can play a role. Declining estrogen in women, sometimes lower testosterone in men, changes in production of thyroid hormone, all of these can affect the speed of your metabolism. But here's the hopeful part. Your metabolism is not doomed. You can significantly influence these factors through certain lifestyle adjustments. So let's get into it. First up, let's talk about strength training. Strength training is so critical because it preserves and builds up muscle. By doing this, you are directly improving your resting metabolic rate. Resting metabolic rate is basically how much energy you're burning when you're not doing anything. So this takes into account things like the energy needed for your bowels to function properly, the energy needed for your heart to beat, the energy needed for you to think clearly. So these are things where even if your body is just sitting down doing nothing, for instance, sleeping, you still need a certain amount of energy to keep your organs functioning. And that is your basal metabolic rate. And muscle is metabolically active tissue. It is burning calories around the clock. Some studies show that strength training just twice a week can boost your metabolism significantly, strengthen your bones, and improve insulin sensitivity. This is huge in the topic of weight gain or the ability to lose weight. If you are a person that is starting to develop insulin resistance or high blood sugars, prediabetes, even diabetes, insulin resistance and high insulin levels are promoting more weight gain. Insulin is a hormone that tells your body to store and hold on to fat. So if your insulin levels are high, your body is not going to be able to break down fat like it should. By improving your muscle mass, your body will become more insulin sensitive. That means that these insulin levels would hopefully come down and your body would be in a better state to break down fat and lose weight. Now, a lot of my patients come in and say, I have been exercising. I've been doing a lot of things. I've been walking a lot. I've been doing yoga classes. Now, these can be great activities because they do allow your body to work against its own body weight, its own resistance. But when I'm talking about proactively building up muscle, I'm really talking about adding more weight to your body than just your body weight alone. So that might mean wearing a weighted vest on a walk, or that really means training with weights that are heavy. Heavy weightlifting is what is going to build up your muscles, not just your body's own weight against itself. Now, if you've never done any kind of exercise before, maybe just walking, then I would say try to at least start with some resistance training. So these can be simple things such as squats, lunges, push-ups against a wall or the floor, even getting some resistance bands and using those. And I would start slow, aim for maybe 2 to 3 sessions a week for 20 to 30 minutes, or even shorter sessions, but every single day of the week. I actually personally prefer that because then I know I'm getting in some amount of exercise every single day, even if it's for a short period of time. And then I try to add more time at some point later in the week. If you're ready to start to get into the heavier weights and strength training, I would advise seeking the professional opinion of someone to just show you how the machines work, how to use these weights, how to prevent getting injured while doing it. I'm sure you know that getting an injury, even if it's a rolled ankle, plantar fasciitis, a shoulder injury, all of these can really stop you in your tracks and really throw you off your weight loss journey or metabolic health journey. So you really want to try to avoid any type of injuries. If possible, I think it's great to get the opinion of a personal trainer, even if it's just for a few sessions, to get you more familiar with the equipment and how to use these things. However, if that's not possible, there are a lot of great instructional videos on YouTube that you can start with and just get some weights at home that you could start using. But strength training is so incredibly important for not only building up your metabolism in your 40s and 50s, but for keeping yourself strong as you get older. You want to be someone who in your 70s or 80s is able to get out of a chair without help, who is able to wash dishes without sitting down, who is able to lift up a basket of laundry. These are things that you will need to do for yourself as you get older. And if you don't have that muscle strength, these little things of daily life actually become very, very difficult. You want to be able to preserve your independence, and you can do that with building up and maintaining muscle strength. Another pitfall that I often see in my practice is that patients will come in and say, I've been doing the same routine for years, and all of a sudden it's not working anymore, and I'm gaining weight, and I haven't changed anything. And that's the problem. They haven't changed anything. What I'm getting at here is our metabolism is constantly slowing down as we get older. So if we keep everything the same and our metabolism is slowing down, at some point it's not going to work anymore. Our routine that we were doing in our 30s is not going to be as effective in our 40s and certainly not in our 50s. So you need to constantly be changing up your routine. Your body is changing, you need to change with it. If you've been doing a certain amount of exercise each week, let's say 5 days a week, 15 minutes a day, okay, maybe it's time to add a 6th day or a 7th day, or maybe it's time to take those 15 minutes and start doing 20 minutes. Maybe it's time to add a little bit more strength training and peel back on the cardio. So you have to constantly be thinking about ways to challenge your body, make it work a little bit harder, and proactively build up strength, because the clock, unfortunately, is working against you. So the main takeaway here, muscle is king. Maintaining is not enough. You need to proactively build up to keep your body in the best metabolic state. Next, let's discuss protein. This has become a big deal in the recent years. There is a lot of marketing out there about protein powders, protein shakes, protein bars. There are rules about how much protein you need to be getting in, 100 grams a day, 150 grams a day, 30 grams with each meal. A lot of new rules to stick by. Now, if you've been following me on Instagram, I'm sure you know I'm not a big fan of these protein powders. I'm a big believer that you should be getting as much protein as possible through foods. Your body processes foods a lot better than it does a packaged powder that has been subject to high intensity heat, possibly other chemicals like hexane to extract protein out of things. So I am a big believer in foods as your source of protein. However, I know that there are people with certain dietary restrictions that they can't eat certain foods, whether it's due to allergies, religious beliefs. They just don't like them. And that I understand. So if you are going to be using a protein powder, here are the things that I would look for. Number one, you want to make sure that it is organic. Number two, if possible, I would suggest going with an animal-derived protein. The quality of protein and amino acids coming from an animal source really trumps the type that comes from plants. So if it is possible and you don't have any restrictions with regards to animal meats, I would suggest going with an animal-based protein powder. You also want to look for all of the inactive ingredients on the back. So if it has more than 2 to 3 ingredients, I would put it back on the shelf. It probably contains additives, natural flavors. Natural flavors can unfortunately contain a lot of different things, up to 100 different ingredients, some of those being artificial sweeteners. So I wouldn't use anything that contains natural flavors. I personally would prefer a product without any type of sweeteners at all. But if you need to have a sweetener in it for flavor, I would suggest going with something like pure stevia or pure organic monk fruit. I would stay away from anything that contains artificial sweeteners like sucralose, Splenda, aspartame, erythritol. These are all artificial sweeteners that can potentially cause issues with gut health, increase the risk of cardiovascular disease, neurological disease, and other things that we don't want. So my personal recommendation is not to use any artificial sweeteners. If you are looking for a certain number that you want to get to in terms of protein intake, technically the recommendations are about 0.8 to 1 gram of protein per pound of your ideal body weight per day. Now, foods that contain a lot of protein that I like to eat or I would recommend would be eggs, egg white and yolk included, Greek yogurt or Icelandic yogurt. These generally tend to have a little bit more protein and less sugar. If you're going to be having yogurt, I would recommend not getting one that's flavored. Just get the plain flavor because those generally will have the least amount of added sugar. Lean meats are also a great source of protein. Fish, beans, even tofu. And probably my biggest tip with regards to protein is to always start your day with protein. A protein-rich breakfast will reduce hunger and cravings throughout the day. It will prevent those insulin levels from spiking early on in the day and promoting fat storage instead of fat breakdown. It will also help to stabilize blood sugar and support a healthy metabolism. So protein in the morning is critical. Let's move on to thyroid health. The thyroid gland is an organ that sits at the base of your neck, and it does play a major role in metabolism. If your thyroid function is not optimal, you can also develop symptoms of fatigue, weight gain, dry skin, mood swings, all of the stuff that nobody wants. So after 40, especially if you are noticing a change in how you feel or a change in your metabolism, It is critical to have your thyroid routinely checked, and that means about once a year or if you have new developing symptoms. The most important test to check when evaluating thyroid function is a lab test called your TSH, or thyroid stimulating hormone. This is your body's barometer for how much thyroid hormone you need. If your level is low, it means you do not need any additional thyroid hormone. And in fact, your thyroid hormone levels might be too high. Versus if it's high, it suggests that your body's not seeing enough thyroid hormone and your thyroid hormone levels would be too low for your system. And if your level is perfect, it usually means that your thyroid hormone levels are at a good place for your body. This does not apply to everyone, and there are certainly some people that feel better if their TSH is a little lower or a little higher. So it's important to have this discussion with your doctor about where your thyroid levels might be optimal. Now, optimizing your thyroid function actually might not include taking thyroid medication. We sometimes do see that thyroid function is optimized when a patient loses weight, when their inflammation levels go down, when they potentially cut out certain triggers for their immune system, such as gluten or dairy in their diet, or potentially some products that they're using like laundry detergent or shampoo that may be causing inflammation in their body. And when these triggers are removed, thyroid function improves. So I'm not necessarily talking about going on thyroid medication, but looking for ways that you can improve your thyroid function naturally and therefore optimize your metabolism. Because remember, a healthy thyroid is foundational for metabolism, energy, and overall well-being. Now let's dive into mitochondria. These are energy powerhouses for your cells. Mitochondrial health does decline naturally with age, and it can significantly impact energy and metabolism. So how can we support mitochondrial function? There are a few things that we can do naturally. Number one is regular, moderate intensity exercise. So I think it's helpful to always have different types of exercise modalities on your schedule. So maybe one day you're doing some walking with a weighted vest on an incline, and that's really giving you that cardiovascular intensity. Maybe another day you're doing just straight up strength training. But it's important to make sure you're doing something where you feel tired afterwards. Maybe you broke a sweat. It was maybe difficult to have a conversation while doing the exercise. You want to make sure you're pushing your body enough and not just kind of taking it easy at the gym. Another way to boost mitochondrial function is through eating antioxidant-rich foods. So these would include things like colorful fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. Although with seeds, my recommendation would be to always make sure these seeds are ground. If you just eat seeds, let's say chia seeds or flax seeds that are not ground, they might really just pass through your body and not get fully absorbed. You want to make sure that you're grinding your flax seeds or buying them as ground flax seeds in order to optimize how much benefit you're getting out of that food group. Reducing inflammation through diet is another way to improve mitochondrial function. Foods that cause inflammation are mostly things like packaged foods, foods high in sugar, foods high in gluten, foods with artificial flavors, artificial dyes, things like that. So when you are choosing ways to eat, I think it's most helpful to think along the lines of a Mediterranean diet. So a Mediterranean diet has a lot of food groups like a lot of unsaturated fats, healthy fats like fish, olive oil, nuts. They're not that high in grains, but when eating grains, they're not eating grains with a lot of gluten. They're eating a lot of vegetables. So more of a Mediterranean style diet seems to have the lowest inflammation impact. So if you are looking for some kind of guideline on what type of foods to be eating, I would suggest looking up Mediterranean diet and seeing if that is something that you could work with. There are also certain supplements that can reduce inflammation and can support mitochondrial health. CoQ10, magnesium, or B vitamins are the biggest ones right now showing to improve mitochondrial health. Of course, always speak to your doctor before starting a certain vitamin or supplement, but these are the ones that would be possibly most beneficial in improving that mitochondrial function. And finally, don't underestimate the impact of a healthy lifestyle on your metabolism. So, staying hydrated is a quick and easy thing that you can do to optimize your body's health, reduce stress on your system, and improve your metabolism. When you are chronically dehydrated, you are putting your body into a state of stress. Your body doesn't know what to do. It's upset. It's trying to conserve energy. It's trying to slow everything down because you're not getting enough hydration. This is going to slow your metabolism. So make sure that you are staying hydrated. You want to be drinking at least half your body weight pounds in ounces of water each day. Another way that you can optimize your metabolic health is to prioritize sleep. So 7 to 8 hours seems to be really ideal for most people. At least 6 though. 6 is the absolute minimum. And trying to prioritize that is also going to improve your overall health, but certainly your metabolic health. Taking short daily walks can also help boost your metabolism as well as manage blood sugar. My recommendation is generally to take these walks after a meal because they can help with your digestion and they can help immediately lower blood sugar. But taking walks at any time will improve your metabolic health. Walks can also help to reduce stress levels. And when stress comes down, cortisol comes down, your metabolism improves, you're less in a state of inflammation and fat storage and more in a state of functioning properly. Now, while these things seem very simple, they really can have a dramatic effect on your health over time. So please make sure to prioritize mental health, stress relief, walks, hydrating, and sleeping. To wrap this up, I want to review what I want you to start doing or make sure that you're doing to future-proof your metabolism after 40. Number 1, you are going to strength train at least twice a week. You are going to increase your daily protein intake. I would prefer doing that through food, but if you're going to buy a protein supplement, make sure you're checking those ingredients and buying a very high quality protein powder. You are going to make sure you're following with your doctor to check metabolic markers like your thyroid function and optimize your nutrient intake. Support your mitochondria with lifestyle and supplements potentially, and commit to basic lifestyle wins. Drink water, get your sleep, walk when you can, and manage those stress levels because stress will have a significant negative impact on your overall health. I really feel that consistency is everything, but it is never too late to start. Take these steps gradually, integrate them into your routine, and watch your metabolism and how you feel finally start to respond. Thank you so much for joining me today. Remember to subscribe or follow the podcast so you don't miss any future episodes. And if today's information resonated or you found it helpful, please share the episode with your friends or family who might also benefit. I'd also love your feedback. So leave a review or a comment because it really does make a difference and helps me tailor these podcasts to what you need. Until next time, stay healthy, stay proactive, and take great care of yourself. I'll see you next week on the Wellness Protocol.